Hey, this is Reed Isbell.
And Dan Isbell.
Otherwise known as the Brothers Hunt.
We're hosting a new podcast, God's Country, by Meat Eater and iHeart Podcast.
God's Country is a weekly drive to the intersection of music and the outdoors. Two things that go together like Sunday and some pond fishing.
Or cows and green pastures.
This record will be the one that it will always define who I am.
So hop on in and ride shotgun with us as we take the back roads with some of the most influential people in country music today.
Listen to God's Country on the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
I'm Dwayne Wade, and I've been blessed to have so many titles so far in my life. But now I'm adding podcast hosts with my new podcast called The Why with Dwayne Wade. On this show, I will have intimate conversations with some of the biggest names in sports, in music, in entertainment, in fashion, and we will discuss the whys in their lives. Listen to The Why with Dwayne Wade on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you can get your podcasts.
Hi, it's Jenna Ushkowitz.
And Kevin McHale.
Hosts of And That's What You Really Missed podcast.
We're reliving the magic of McKinley High by watching all 6 seasons of Glee.
We have exclusive interviews with some of your favorite Glee cast members like Chris Colfer, Amber Riley, Darren Criss, Heather Morris, Alex Newell, and so many more.
Meet us in the choir room while we reveal our greatest memories and untold stories.
Listen to And That's What You Really Missed podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
First Date Follow-Up. Powered by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. Online at advocateslaw.com.
Chloe is on the phone today for a first date follow-up, and she's getting ghosted by a dude named Dan. Chloe, thanks for coming on the show. Before we get into your dating stuff, how long has it been since you heard from Dan?
It has been 2 weeks.
That's kind of been the sweet spot lately. How many times have you reached out to Dan in those 2 weeks?
I mean, I've reached out a couple of times, but I didn't want to sound desperate, but I just reached out a couple of times, and I've heard nothing.
Nothing. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about your date with Dan.
Yeah, Dan was super, super cute, and we went out to a really nice dinner, and we walked around after our dinner, and we chatted.
When you say really nice, what does that mean?
It means expensive. It was an expensive dinner.
Well, where was it? Where'd you go?
We went to a steakhouse. It was adorable.
Nice.
Like candlelight?
Yeah, like the white linen tablecloth, you know what I mean? And I really liked him. And then we walked around. There's a park across the street. So we talked for a while. And then at the end, we, had a goodnight kiss. And I'm just wondering what happened in between that magical date and him not responding to anything.
Is there anything that may have popped up on that date that would have been kind of awkward? Like, was your kiss good?
I think, so I've been analyzing all of it, you know what I mean? Replaying everything. I think the date itself was fine. I'm worried though that he thinks that I live with my dad because my dad and my little brother were visiting to look at colleges. Mm-hmm. And they just stopped by my place. And they came literally 10 minutes before Dan got to my house. And I didn't know what to do because he was already on his way. But my dad ended up opening the door when Dan showed up. And so, I don't know. And when I guess he said something have a good time, it was just really awkward.
Did Dan mention anything on your date about thinking that you lived with your brother and dad?
No, not really. He thought. I told him. I was like, "Hey, my dad's here and my brother, they're just visiting." But I don't know. I guess he just didn't think I was telling the truth.
Unless your dad said something to him that you don't know about. And then also, first of all, if you did live with your dad, there's nothing wrong with it. Adults living with their parents is totally normal.
Housing and rental costs is really high, but I'm lucky enough to have my own place. But I don't know. I just, that's the only thing I could think of.
Let's think about when you were in high school and we would go on dates. Did your dad ever have any awkward interactions with them at that time? Just to see if old habits popped up again with your new guy.
Yeah. I mean, my dad is a troll for new guys. He's so when will you get my daughter home? Or at least he was back then. But that was years ago. And I just don't see him doing that now. And in fact, he was left alone for maybe 30 seconds while I was putting my shoes on. So I don't know. And the thing that sucks is on the actual date, we aligned with everything, and it's so hard to find that. I mean, we were aligning on we both want kids. We have the same religious background. He is very educated, which is really important to me. Literally everything I could have ever thought that I wanted in a guy, I got with this guy.
What was the last thing he said to you?
He said, let's do this again. And I was like, great. And then we kissed, and then I went inside.
Okay, well, we'll see if we can figure it out then. We'll play a song, come back, and call him and see if we can get him to tell us why he's ghosting you, and then maybe get you another date if you still want one, okay?
Sounds good, thanks.
All right. Play a song, come back, get your first date follow-up next.
Hey, this is Reed Isbell,
And Dan Isbell.
otherwise known as the Brothers Hunt.
We're hosting a new podcast, God's Country, by Meat Eater and iHeart Podcast.
God's Country is a weekly drive to the intersection of music and the outdoors. Two things that go together like Sunday and some pond fishing.
Or cows and green pastures.
We're talking to the writers behind your favorite songs about the deer they've loved and they've lost.
So I shot an 11 point with a 23-inch inside spread, like it was giant. And somebody stole it.
And the stories behind their biggest hits.
Boy, they hooked that, man. They really hooked that.
Right.
That's writing 101.
And hearing from today's biggest stars like our friend Michael Hard Rock Hardy.
This record will be the one that it will always define who I am, or like just as an artist.
So hop on in and ride shotgun with us as we take the back roads with some of the most influential people in country music today.
Listen to God's Country on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
What's up, everybody? I'm Dwayne Wade, and I've been blessed to have so many titles so far in my life. But now I'm adding podcast hosts with my new podcast called The Why with Dwayne Wade.
How did you feel about me in 2006?
Well, there wasn't a lot of love there, I'd say. So there was definitely some cold times.
As I step into a new phase of my life after basketball, I find myself with new inspirations, new motivations, and new whys. On this show, I will have intimate conversations with some of the biggest names in sports, in music, in entertainment, in fashion, and we will discuss the whys in their lives.
Everybody, welcome Rick Ross to the podcast.
My God.
My brother Mello, Lindsey Vonn, Pau Gasol, Pat Riley, Dirk. Welcome.
Listen to The Why with Dwayne Wade on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you can get your podcasts.
Hi, it's Jenna Ushkowitz.
And Kevin McHale,
hosts of And That's What You Really Missed podcast.
We're reliving the magic of McKinley High by watching all 6 seasons of Glee.
Whether you were Team Rachel, shipped Curtin Blaine, or couldn't get enough of Sue Sylvester's zingers, we've got you covered.
Join us every week as we dive deep into the world of show choirs and teenage drama. We're breaking down every episode from the highs of nationals to the lows of slushy attacks.
We have exclusive interviews with some of your favorite Glee cast members like Chris Colfer, Amber Riley, Darren Criss, Heather Morris, Alex Newell, and so many more.
Plus, we're taking you behind the scenes with the creators, writers, producers, and crew members like Ryan Murphy, Ian Brennan, and executive music producer Adam Anders.
We're even getting the chance to chat with the music icons whose songs were featured on the show, from the Go-Go's to Jason Mraz to Rick Springfield.
Meet us in the choir room while we reveal our greatest memories and untold stories.
Listen to And That's What You Really Missed podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
First Date Follow-Up. Powered by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. Online at advocateslaw.com.
If you're just joining us for today's First Date Follow-Up, Chloe is on the phone and she's getting ghosted by a dude named Dan. So we're about to call him in a minute and see if he'll tell us why he's ghosting her and maybe get her another date if she still wants one. But before we do that, Chloe, why don't you refresh everybody's memory about your date with Dan?
Okay, yeah. So Dan is a 10 out of 10, meets all my criteria for everything. We had a great date. We went to a nice dinner, walked around after, sat in the park, had a good night kiss, and then I just haven't heard from him in 2 weeks. I'm thinking the only thing that it could have been was my dad said something in the 30s that my dad was visiting. I don't know. My mind is spinning. I just don't know.
Well, we'll see if we can figure it out for you. We're about to call him and see if he'll tell us why, and then see if you're still interested in another date. Here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, may I speak to Dan, please?
This is Dan.
Dan, how are you? My name is Jubal. I host a radio show, and it's called The Jubal Show.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nina. I'm also on the Jubal Show.
Hi, and I'm Victoria, also on the show.
What's up, Dan?
Yep. What's up?
For real?
Yes, how are you?
Oh, great. I actually listen to you guys.
Oh.
Time to time.
Sweet. Okay, cool. Have you ever heard of First Date Follow-Up before?
Yeah, I have actually.
Okay, cool. Well, guess what, Dan? Today's First Date Follow-Up is starring you.
All right.
So you recently went on a date with someone, and now you're not calling them back, and they want to know why. Do you have any guesses on who that could be?
Yeah, I think I do have a pretty good guess, actually.
Ooh,
okay. Throw it out there. We'll tell you if it's right.
I mean, it's got to be Chloe.
Yes, it is, Dan. Congratulations. You won absolutely nothing for that, but yes, it's Chloe.
Well, yeah, I get it.
You mind telling us why you're ghosting her?
Sure. I mean, I'm ghosting her because, when we finished our dates and we went our separate ways, this guy comes running out of nowhere, punches me in the face, and tells me to stay away from his sister.
What?
Yeah, he's got a pretty mean right hook, and I really wasn't what to do at that point. So it's just like, all right, I guess I will avoid that situation. I haven't been punched in the face since I was like a freshman or a sophomore in high school.
Did he just come punch you and then he was gone after that, or did you guys talk at all?
No, he came flying up out of nowhere, like my blind side, sucker punches me in the face, and I hardly even got a look at him because I was just so surprised. I kind of fell down a little bit, and he was just like, "You will stay, the F away from my sister. Keep away from her," or whatever. And he stalked off. Like, that was it. I was just so stunned, I didn't even know what to say, and I just was like, okay. So I got in my car and left, and was just like, well, I guess that's that.
But isn't he a little guy? Didn't she say he was visiting colleges? I guess that doesn't mean he's a little guy. But
I was gonna say
he's a pretty decent sized boy there. But yeah.
Dang, man.
My brother would never do that for me.
Wow. Dan, man, thank you for telling us that. I understand why you are not calling her back then. I don't think I would call someone back if that happened to me.
Really?
Yeah.
But that's not like her fault, though.
Yeah, but it would just be the family's drama then. I don't have to deal with the brother trying to be like that or
doing that again.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like it's Thanksgiving and you get punched.
Exactly.
All right.
Well, Dan, thank you for being honest. Also, I don't know if you remember this part about the first date follow-ups, but Chloe is actually on the phone listening and wants to talk to you.
Wait, I am so confused. Are you, my brother came out of nowhere and just sucker punched you in the face?
Yes, he did.
Oh my God!
I'm assuming he was your brother. I mean, I didn't really go look at him at the beginning of the date, but yeah, I mean, he just said stay away from my sister.
What? I wish you would have told me, because now I have to go punch my brother. But no, I mean, listen, my brother is super protective over me because my ex-boyfriend cheated on me, and there was a lot of drama. So I don't know what the hell he was thinking, but in his mind, it was like protecting me, even though, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. There's no excuse.
So it really probably could have been your brother, because you never know. There's some crazies in the streets, you know?
I strongly feel like that's something that idiot would do.
I mean, I thought about responding back, but I mean, thinking about it, it's just like, well, I don't know this guy. He's crazy enough to come and punch me in the face. I mean, I was going to get in my car. So I just like, I mean, I don't want this guy like tracking me down if I decided to call you back or text you back anyway. So, I would have liked to, but I just, again, I don't know what I'm dealing with this guy. Just so surprised to get punched.
Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we meet up again? We have a take two. I tell my brother to back off, and he's going to give you a formal apology. It's going to be awkward for everyone, but he needs to apologize. And then we'll do it again, because I had such a great time with you, Dan, and I really want, another shot at that.
hey, I understand. I mean, especially if he's just trying to be protective and he thought there was something going on that he didn't like. I'm totally down for a second date. Just definitely talk to her or talk to your brother and make sure that, just make sure he's not going to stalk me again. And, we can take it from there, I guess.
Chloe, do you think your brother would listen to you, or is he kind of a loose cannon?
Well, he's gonna. Let me tell you that. He's gonna listen to me, or else he's gonna punch you in the face.
Well, usually I ask if you guys want to go on another date, and I'll pay for it. Well, the station will pay for it. You guys already decided that, so congratulations. Yay. You guys are going out again.
Yay!
Just no one get punched in the face again. It's like it hurts.
No punching.
Only if it's consensual. Like if it's something, if you get the date goes to a certain place, then have fun with it if you guys are both into that. But other than that, no more punching.
Right, code word.
Jubal's first date follow-up. Powered by the Advocates Injury Attorney. Online at advocateslaw.com.
Hey, this is Reed Isbell.
And Dan Isbell.
Otherwise known as the Brothers Hunt.
We're hosting a new podcast, God's Country, by Meat Eater and iHeart Podcast.
God's Country is a weekly drive to the intersection of music and the outdoors. Two things that go together like Sunday and some pond fishing.
Or cows and green pastures.
This record will be the one that it will always define who I am.
So hop on in and ride shotgun with us as we take the back roads with some of the most influential people in country music today.
Listen to God's Country on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
I'm Dwayne Wade, and I've been blessed to have so many titles so far in my life. But now I'm adding podcast hosts with my new podcast called The Why with Dwayne Wade. On this show, I will have intimate conversations with some of the biggest names in sports, in music, in entertainment, in fashion, and we will discuss the whys in their lives. Listen to The Why with Dwayne Wade on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you can get your podcasts.
Hi, it's Jenna Ushkowitz.
And Kevin McHale.
Hosts of And That's What You Really Missed podcast.
We're reliving the magic of McKinley High by watching all 6 seasons of Glee.
We have exclusive interviews with some of your favorite Glee cast members like Chris Colfer, Amber Riley, Darren Criss, Heather Morris, Alex Newell, and so many more.
Meet us in the choir room while we reveal our greatest memories and untold stories.
Listen to And That's What You Really Missed podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.